I did it. I remembered. Okay. So yeah, we think that this is going to be a really important conversation tonight. So we will record it and have it up on our YouTube channel, and we'll get that link out once that's all ready to go, because we know that not everybody can make it and people are tired of sitting on Zoom on a Thursday evening, but so we're really happy that you all are here. And it's great to see everybody again. You know, like we did a mixer in person last month, and I kind of feel like I missed Zoom a little bit. Like there's something intimate about the Zoom in a way that it's different in person, where we really can really focus on the speaker and really kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting used to it, you know, about time, I guess. But
Way to be positive, Molly.
Thank you. Thank you. Got to keep it positive. Let's see. I want to start, I guess, by thanking my board of directors, who I see a few of you here tonight. And with every change of the calendar year, we do have our officers roll over. We change officers every year. And so we keep all that information updated on our website. So if you're ever interested in kind of like seeing who's on our board of directors and what everybody's roles are, you can definitely go onto our website. But we do have our current board chair, Sorrel Oberlander, here tonight. You can wave, Sorrel. And vice chair, Ken Hammock, secretary, Matt Kurth, and board member, Jim Ritter, who was our secretary last year. And I didn't tell these guys that I was going to do this, so I'm putting them all on the spot. But we are so grateful for our board and our ambassadors that really help behind the scenes, keeping the chamber rolling. So if any other board members jump on later, you can put yourself in the chat or something. And we do have some space on our board of directors. So if anybody is ever interested to know what it's like behind the scenes, please feel free to join any of our board meetings. They're open to members, or reach out to any board members and they can give you some inside scoop on that. Or you can reach out to myself or Annalisa, of course, too. Let's see. So we are in the process of having our voting for our business leaders of the year this year. And what I wanted to do real quick is just announce who the nominees are. So tonight is the last night for members to vote. So if you haven't voted and you're a member, you can still do that after this meeting. It really only takes a few minutes. And I'm going to share my screen real quick and just show this little graphic for those visual learners out there. And this is a list of this year's nominees for business leaders. And I will read it. Nonprofit, Big Brothers Big Sisters. I see a few of you here tonight. Black Humboldt and Northern California Community Blood Bank. John's also here tonight. COVID Resilient Business of the Year. The nominees are Arcata Playhouse, North Coast Co-op, North Coast Growers Association, also known as Humboldt County Farmers Market. The Hospitality and Tourism nominees, Arcata Main Street, Humboldt Cannabis Tours, Sequoia Park Zoo. Small Business of the Year, Bling Brow Bar, Hatchet House Throwing Club, Septentrio Winery. Green Business of the Year, Deep Seated Community Farm, Kinetic Coffee, and Mother Earth Engineering. And new chamber member of the year, Brainwash Thrift, Humboldt Grain Girls, and Leon Villagomez, photographer. So, and if you're here, if you're one of those businesses that I just read off, maybe put in the chat, just say hey or something in the chat. And we're really grateful that you made it tonight. And every year, of course, our businesses are working so hard, and we're just really excited to celebrate the nominees because they all, of course, are deserving of the award. And it's just really fun to get to highlight these specific businesses that the membership voted as nominees. So we're really proud of you guys and excited that you've been nominated, and excited for the membership to vote for the winners.
Can I pop in here for a second, Molly?
Oh, please. Yeah.
I just put the link in the chat. And we're at about 72 members that have voted, and we're looking to try to reach 100 at least. So thanks for checking that out in the chat and saving that for future reference. Actually, if you can do that by tonight, that would be great.
And we were planning an in-person event for mid-February. We have canceled that for the safety of the community. And so we won't be wining and dining and celebrating all together in a giant room and sharing germs with each other. But we are hoping to put on a very small outdoor event specifically for the nominees, where we can announce the winners and present the awards, and we'll be live streaming it out to the rest of the community. So that should be happening on February 18th. You nominees, I haven't emailed you about it yet, but that's happening. So save the date and check it out on the live stream if you are not one of the nominee businesses. So, okay, I'm gonna move on to another great program that that Arcata Chamber has in the works right now. We are teaming up with the Humboldt County Office of Education and Arcata High School to put together a mentoring program. And we're really excited about this, working with the students as a pipeline from high school into the business community, and specifically targeting CR-bound seniors at this time for this first pilot project. However, we may expand it out. We're kind of see how it rolls out with the students. And it's going to be an 8-week program where the students really get hands-on experience with the business community. There's going to be some job shadowing, some one-on-one or small group mentoring. And we're really looking for businesses that want to be involved. And right now it's really open to what types of industries. Really anybody is invited to join. And we're going to keep putting information out about this, but we're really excited about this program. So if this sounds like something that your business might want to be a part of, or you know another business that might be great for this, please let us know. And we would love to have you as involved in this, or any ideas. And thanks to Jim Ritter from Office of Education, who's really helped spearhead this and make it happen. So I think I'm going to stop talking and pass it over to Annalisa to say a few words. But just as a reminder, we want to hear from you. We want to be in touch. We want to know what you're up to. So please always reach out to us, reach out to board members. Just be in touch, because it's nice to hear your voice and see your face. Thanks, Annalisa.
All right, my name is Annalisa Rush, and thank you, Molly. I'm the executive assistant to Molly here at the chamber, and I just wanted to let you know about our awards event auction. We are still actively collecting donations from the community. Anyone, not necessarily just members, but anyone from the community that wants to help us support local business and small business through our chamber efforts. So you can, any size of anything that you would like to contribute, even if that means supporting another business that you want to support, that may be struggling. That's a wonderful way to showcase them, because we promote all of our donors through our social media and our e-letter and such. So you can just contact me or Molly with any, if you have any questions and want to contribute and participate in that. And we will hold the auction. We're tentatively setting the date to start the auction bidding on the 17th of February and run it through about February 22nd. So kind of around that nomination awards event. And we have wonderful things coming in. And so we encourage you to check that out when it is open. And then another announcement I have to make is our next mixer will be March 3rd, first Thursday of March, with the new Cal Poly Humboldt designation at the Warfinger building, the Humboldt Bay Aquatic Center in Eureka. And so with COVID safety protocols will be in place there. It will be in person at 5:30. And I don't know if Molly, if you have any other details you'd like to add on that.
We'll just play it by ear, of course, and we're hoping for an in-person event. They have some really nice outdoor space there, but if it seems unsafe to hold an in-person event, we will move that to Zoom. But hopefully we'll get to do it in person, and we'll be masked, and we'll be doing it in as safe a manner as we can, and it'll be great.
And then, of course, always, if you have any announcements that you'd like to send us to put in our digital e-letter, we do it twice per month. Our next one will be February 9th. So please send me any and all community announcements, whether it's jobs or events or causes or campaigns or anything like that. You can send me an image file to my email and I'll put that in the chat. We also have top ad space available for $25 per issue, up to 4 consecutive issues if you'd like to do that in February. Thanks.
Awesome. So yeah, those are our chamber announcements for now. So please contact us with any questions or information. And let's pass it to Carol to do our first raffle prizes, and then I will hand it over to Natalynne.
All right, well, let's do 3 of them this go around. First one, let's Northern California Community Blood Bank. Thank you guys so much. You're always very generous. This is a gift basket, about $100 value. And this has been won by Sarah Hiller. Congratulations, Sarah. Yay. And our next item is donated by Mother Earth Engineering. It is a $100 Home Depot gift card. So somebody's going to be heading out to Crescent City or Reading. And this has also been won by Sarah Hiller. That's why we buy tickets, so we win. And the last one is a 1.5 liter bottle of Barefoot Pinot Noir. And Mr. Jim Ritter, you're going to be enjoying some wine. Back to you, Molly.
Thanks, Carol. And yeah, you can always buy raffle tickets earlier before the mixer. And we have kind of a whole process set up. So we do have to have a cutoff at 2 p.m., but you can always buy it tomorrow for next month. So there's a long window of opportunity for that. And thanks to everybody that donated. And now, without further ado, Natalynne, the Executive Director of HCGA, we are excited to hear from you. And thank you so much for hosting and being here tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Molly and Annalise. It's been really great to work with you all over the last couple months getting ready for this. And it's an honor. So I am going to do one of those dreaded PowerPoints. I want to run through a little bit of this with you. And then my goal is really just to run through some of the details, and then ideally we open it up to group conversation. And there are some other people that are also joining us here today that I'd like to introduce. Alegria Sita is our membership coordinator with HCGA. I see Craig Johnson, who's one of our partner members with Alpenglow, Lindsay Jones of Aloha Humboldt, the Willow Creek Cannabis Alliance, and the Willow Creek Chamber of Commerce. And on your board, Ken Hammock, awesome advocate, and same with Matt Kurth. So, and Leanne, of course, is here. So I think you're in good company. And so I look forward to being able to, hand this over to our colleagues to also be able to share their experiences. So I'm going to do a brief presentation on the state of Humboldt cannabis, and do a little bit of an introduction of what is HCGA. So we are a trade association. We are a trade association for licensed cannabis operators, and we were founded right on the heels of the Prop 64 being passed by voters. We actually took effect in early January of 2017. We have since, over the last 5 years, grown to an organization of 275 licensed cannabis members. We have about 80 allied industry business members, and those are our lateral support businesses, and then 25 industry partners. And our industry partners are typically nonprofit organizations, chambers of commerce, partnering regional organizations that we work with regularly. And so we have a reciprocity with almost all of our local chambers, where we share our information with our chambers and vice versa. And we've really tried to work with our cannabis people to encourage folks to join within the chambers and understanding the different ecosystems. Like a trade association for us is cannabis, because we need to be able to work on these cannabis issues that aren't typically affecting other businesses. But then to be able to continue to normalize our industry is to bring our cannabis people into the chambers. And so it's really been great over the last several years that the chambers have become welcoming for the industry. And I mean, I get it. That's on the heels of legalization. So HCGA, we do have 3 major programs. We have a strong government affairs program. So that means we work on a local level, state level, and federal level. We locally, I think you hear a lot about us. We've worked through land use ordinances, taxation, amendments, planning commission. So I think we're pretty well known locally. People may not understand that we work very strong with on a state level. So we're working with Assembly Member Jim Wood, Senator Mike McGuire. Up until recently, HCGA had its own lobbyist. And so we just worked on Humboldt issues in California. But this last year, we partnered in with Origins Council, which is an umbrella 501c4 organization that pulls together 6 regional partners so that we're all working in lockstep. So Humboldt County is now working with Mendocino, Trinity County, Sonoma County, Nevada County, and Big Sur. And so we are representing over 900 members strong of legacy producing regions around the state of California and are effectively the largest cannabis trade association in California, which is what you need to be able to work in Sacramento politics. You either have money or people, and so we go the people route. We also do market development. So working through the supply chain cannabis, we have to work through the supply chain. So that is business to business events. We work public relations and trying to open up markets because, well, we are still coming out of prohibition and increasing access for our markets is really important. And we have an education program. Everything that we do is education. We educate ourselves, our members educate us, we educate policy members, and all the way back around. Oops. Oop, this button. So Humboldt's cannabis industry. This is one of our board members, Dave Dickinson of Woody Ridge Farms. And I hope you're aware, but Humboldt County has about 1,000 small cannabis cultivator businesses. The average size is about 22,000 square feet. Oops. 22,000 square feet, which is about half an acre. And the median size is a quarter acre, which is about 10,000 square feet. And the majority of our cannabis cultivators partner with manufacturers and distributors that are based in the city centers. Here in Arcata, we have our Arcata Innovation Zone with, I don't know exactly how many are over there. I think 30 plus manufacturers and distributors. And same thing in Eureka. There's manufacturing and distribution in Eureka, Rio Del, and a little bit throughout the county. We don't have great data. I wish I did. But it's estimated that we probably employ between 5,000 and 10,000 people within Humboldt's cannabis industry. So I like to do a little bit of a history lesson of how did we get here, because it really does shape the conversation of what we're asking for today. And so I'm starting at 2015. I could go way back, right? 1970s, people came up here. No, so throughout, let me check our mutes. Coming through the latter part of 2012, 13, 14, there was a lot of starting to be concerted push around environmental and social impacts of unregulated cannabis. And which needed to happen because it finally drove our state legislature into developing a regulatory system for cannabis. Because before then, from when Prop 215 was passed in 1996, there was really no regulatory structure. So what we call that is there was a gray market. People were legally allowed to operate under medical marijuana laws, but there were not regulations. And so, it just left things very open. In October 2015, Jerry Brown, Governor Brown at the time, signed into law the Medical Marijuana Regulation Safety Act. Simultaneous to that work in 2015, the cannabis industry was working with our Humboldt Board of Supervisors to develop what would become the Humboldt County Medical Marijuana Land Use Ordinance. So those two things were tracking simultaneous. Jerry Brown signed MRSA into law, and right then, a few months later, Humboldt County had the first cannabis land use ordinance in the state, which is really incredible. And so the spring of 2016 started this push to bring operators into compliance. There was an estimated up to about 10,000 cultivation sites in and around Humboldt County. And it's estimated that that was between 6,000 and 8,000 operators. In the summer of 2016, by the end of August of 2016, 2,300 people, around that number, applied to come into compliance with Humboldt County's land use ordinance. What then happened is, Proposition 64. And I'm going to kind of frame it like this. Medical Marijuana Regulation Safety Act that was created by our legislature and went through an entire legislative process, had protections in place to protect legacy growing regions. But there were powers that be that did not like that. And the adult use, Prop 64, the Adult Use Cannabis Act, was a big money initiative. Over $30 million is what it cost to pass what became Prop 64 and AUMA. And that was policy that was written behind closed doors by big moneyed interests. And unfortunately, voters don't typically read ballot initiatives. They read, I want to get high for fun, let the people out of jail who got high for fun. Yes, no. So what people didn't read was all of the fine print that came along with Prop 64. And a lot of that we're still dealing with today. And some of the things Prop 64 promised was that small farmers would be protected. It said that there would not be cultivation sites greater than 1 acre until 2023. And it made a lot of promises to protect legacy regions. And those promises did not happen. Voters passed it in December of 2017. Like I mentioned, there was this 1 acre cap. 2 weeks before January 1st, when legalization started and launched, the 1 acre cap was surreptitiously removed. And how do you remove that? Politics equal money. It's actually all been tracked and documented. It's politics. So that 1 acre cap was eliminated, which then meant, and what we've seen since 2018 is unlimited cultivation square footage. You see it in the news, you see it around the state. There's large scale cultivation, Lake County, Salinas, Santa Barbara. There's really giant indoor cultivation out in the desert, hot springs kind of areas. There is massive new production in the state that didn't typically exist. And what's happened, overproduction results in supply and demand economics. And so the market starts to drop and the price of the price per pound starts to drop. So where are we now? And this is actually kind of old. Where we are now is that the wholesale price of cannabis is oftentimes at or below the cost of production in Humboldt County, because growing cannabis in Humboldt County is more expensive than growing it in other parts of the state. We have much smaller cultivation sites. We're much further from the market. We don't have access and probably don't want access to low-cost migrant labor like they have in the Salinas areas. We also are dealing with a lot of legacy environmental impacts that are left over from logging that were left behind. So we are dealing with road issues, restoring roads, culverts, old grading, a lot of regulation it just goes into the ongoing expenses of cultivating cannabis here in Humboldt County that then add to that production cost. As I noted, Proposition 64 built some things in that were not exactly ideal. One of those is a tax rate, a flat tax rate per pound. So once you grow a pound of weed, it doesn't matter the grade or how much that pound sells for. It was $154 until recently, and then the price just went up to $161 a pound. We have massive overproduction on the state level, and I would basically put a lot of blame. Well, there's only one place to blame. It's the state that has allowed for massive over licensing of cannabis. Probably between 4 and 5 times more cannabis is being cultivated in California than our California market can consume. So then what's happening? Why are we complaining? Well, because the entire cannabis industry is failing. And here, I had a conversation with a reporter today, and she was talking about small farmers. And I asked her, I said, how do you define small farmers? And she said, well, I don't really know. I said, well, I think that that's a really good starting point. I would say that all of our farms in Humboldt County are small farms. We do not have a farm greater than 8 acres. The majority of our farms, as noted, were about 10 to 22,000 square feet. And the majority of our farms in Humboldt County are also self-funded. We don't have access to outside capital, banking, anything like that. So this is all funding that has come from their hard work that is created and built these businesses over time. It's been their life savings that they've invested to build their businesses. And I compare that to investor capital backed corporations. And so there are a lot of these big businesses, we call them multi-state operators. They are new organizations, new companies, new corporations that frankly enticed a bunch of rich people to get rich quick schemes, because this is going to be this multi-billion-dollar industry, and here's how to hop in on the next green rush. So there are a lot of these investor-backed capital corporations that have also entered the market. Some of them have cultivation, they have manufacturing, distribution. And they're very, very hard to compete with. But the reality is low prices affect everyone. And I'm going to say this because there's a certain irony. Even when the investor capital backed corporations start crying, there's a problem. And for the last several years, those investor backed corporations have been able to, weather the proverbial storm of low prices because they knew, they're like, we know that this is going to be, that we're not going to be profitable for a few years, but things are going to turn up. That hasn't happened. So, pricing, the industry, if you've been paying attention, there's been articles all over San Francisco Chronicle, Times Standard, LA Times, Forbes. It's been very well covered what's going on with the failing cannabis industry. One of our other major issues is that there's insufficient retail outlets. Prior to 2018, when legalization took effect, there were over 5,000 retailers, and now there's about 700. And it's 68%, I think is the approximation. 68% of the state still does not have access to legal cannabis retail. And that is because within Proposition 64, the initiative gave what's called local control. And so every jurisdiction up and down the state can determine whether or not they want to allow cannabis within their jurisdiction and whether or not they'll authorize it. So many places that maybe were tired or had lingering feelings or sentiments of prohibition just said no. And so that means in many ways, what they're continuing to do is perpetuate the unregulated market, because the truth is people want to smoke weed. And if you don't give them a place to purchase it from with legal, tested, and safe product, they're going to buy it from their neighbor, which is further supporting the unregulated market. So, you know, our bottom line right now, businesses cannot survive when expenses exceed revenue. And that's what's happening. Which brings us to what you guys have probably been hearing about, because we've been pretty noisy and vocal lately, trying to get our supervisors to suspend Measure S. Measure S is our local cannabis cultivation tax. It was passed by 65+% of voters back in November of 2016. So I just kind of going to go backwards. When all of our operators came into compliance and signed up with the county and said, okay, we're willing to do this, we knew a tax might be coming, but it wasn't there, wasn't determined yet. And we had no idea Prop 64 was going to be done to us. So that was a package deal that we weren't quite expecting. But, you know, Measure S, when it was written, and it was advanced through a bit of a public process back in 2015, 2016, which is almost 6-7 years ago, which in cannabis years is like 70 dog years ago. The price of weed back then was significantly, I don't know exactly, it was at least 75% higher than it is now. For outdoor cultivation pounds. That being said, we were also coming out of prohibition, so prohibition was propping up those prices. So Measure S is a flat rate cultivation tax. It is an entitlement tax. All farmers have to pay it simply for the right to cultivate. And when the ballot was, when it was voted on and passed, farmers had to pay it at the beginning of the cycle. Before they'd even grown anything, they had to pay it in advance of their growing season for the right to cultivate. A couple years later, we were able to amend that with the county to where farmers pay the cost now in the arrears. So that means after their cultivation cycle, but it still is an entitlement tax. It's a tax that no other business that operates in Humboldt County has to pay. Oops. I'm going to leave it there for just another second because I'll go back in it. We hear a lot that, well, those cannabis farmers, they have to pay taxes. You know, we can't let them not pay their taxes. Folks, cannabis farmers pay taxes. They pay taxes on their taxes. And that is because they pay state income tax, they pay federal income tax, they pay increased property taxes because as they improve their properties, their lands are reassessed. And so they pay increased property taxes directly to the county. They pay all business licensing fees, all permitting fees, all licensing fees. And I will definitely call upon Craig and Lindsay to talk about the fees and taxes that are associated with being a licensed operator. What Measure S though was a way for Humboldt County to collect revenues that it couldn't previously gather. And almost $48.5 million has been paid, probably almost entirely in cash, to the county that has funded vital services over the last 4 years directly from the cannabis industry. But we're at this point in time as an industry where this golden goose can't lay eggs anymore. There's nothing left. Our farmers are absolutely tapped. And, so it's like our farmers are in a position where they have a choice, like, can they pay upfront cultivation taxes, upfront state licensing fees, costs that are associated with just starting their crop and harvest. And then, they grow a plant for months, harvest it, and then not getting paid for months. And again, I'd love for Craig to help explain what it's like for cannabis farmers and when they get paid. So as we noted, we've been pretty noisy lately. What our ask has been to the supervisors, and without getting too in the details, is we were asking for the October 21st payment to be waived and forgiven, and waive this upcoming March payment, because the farmers have to pay cultivation taxes. They pay them like you pay property taxes, so twice a year. So in the spring and in the fall. And then we're asking for a suspension of cultivation taxes for a full year, and then to work with our county and community to develop a new tax measure that would go back before the voters. Most likely the soonest that could be would be June of 2024. So I do want people to know and understand that when the voters passed Measure S, they gave this Board of Supervisors the authority to repeal, amend, or reduce the tax in a way that does not increase the tax. So the voters already gave the power to the supervisors to do what we're asking. Our action plan, you might have heard, but on Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors met. And there was the longest supervisor hearing meeting that I've ever seen, which was almost 12 hours long. There was 6 hours talking about Measure S. We had over 60 public commenters. It was a really great experience. I'll just say that from my standpoint, that way, of course, the patience of 6 hours of meeting. No decision was made at that supervisor hearing. Staff heard from the board, and there were some verbal recommendations that were discussed from the 3 of the supervisors. So Supervisor Wilson of District 3, Supervisor Steve Madrone of District 5, and Supervisor Rex Bone of District 1 all gave verbal recommendations to staff. And the board is coming back with a special meeting on Monday to make a determination. So that's where we stand right there. I'm going to stop share and open it up for kind of conversation. And yeah, just that's the overview. That's the recap overview of how did we get here. And maybe I might call on Craig. I see Craig's here, Lindsay's here.
Sure, I'm happy to shine add a little color to some of those numbers. I don't want to bombard you all with too many, but essentially we're highly regulated. There's this misnomer of cannabis is wild and free in the hills, and all this property damage is happening, and so forth, and lakes and stream beds and the salmon species are all compromised at this point. And for the legal farms that stepped through the front door into the Fish and Wildlife and the county, we're highly regulated to the point that we have inspectors on our property multiple times a year. I'll list some of the agencies and their fees. We have, and this is yearly, Water Board, $690, state cultivation license, $4,800. County permit review, that's when they come and look at everything every year. We pay for that. So that's not coming out of taxes. We pay for them to look at us. So that's $750. My cultivation tax, that Measure S square footage tax, we would call it, that's a little bit over $10,000 a year. That's kind of the punitive right to farm cannabis tax is kind of a good way to think of that. So just to have in this county. Property tax would be about $4,200. Business license renewal, I did that today. That was $57. And then what we're calling the cultivation tax on the state level. That's about $160 a pound. And that's a line item. So when you're hearing these prices right now locally of $200, $400, $500, $600, we still pay the state regardless, $160. So that doesn't change on what it's sold for. And that doesn't even get collected at the time of sale. That gets collected when it moves into distribution. So as soon as it leaves our farm, that needs to be tended to. Then we have the cost to trim. Approximately a farm of 10,000 square feet might produce around 300 pounds. So that would be another $13,000. Cannabis water rights, about 750. Oh, let's not forget weights and measures. 115, state secretary, LLC, your business matters. That would be 800 a year. Bond renewal, because we have to buy an insurance bond that in case our crop fails testing at distribution, we have an insurance bond to pay in case it needs to be destroyed, which has never happened to me, but. And I'm kind of getting lost in my own weeds here, so to speak. That brings us to about $84,000 a year to do business. Now we had, I'm sure you guys might know Mushroom Mike. He sells mushrooms on the plaza. Mycality mushrooms. He gave statement to the Board of Supervisors the other day. His bottom line there would be $400. So it's really not our fault that we're failing. If some of these other businesses had the same challenge, they would probably be in the same space that we're in now. So when we came out of what I call the green closet, and we said, hey, we're willing to be taxed. We're okay with this. And the hog was kind of fat back then. And we had no problem with it, giving the state 10% and the county the square footage tax, the Measure S tax, we call it. But now times have changed, and we can't have this punitive right to farm tax anymore. So I guess I'll leave it at that. And actually I'll go one step further, and that's a little bit of how the harvest process works. So when we harvest in September, October, for us that do full season farming, we would be curing it for 2-3 months and then starting to trim it about now or just before Christmas, or that's manicuring it, taking the big leaves off of it and getting it ready to go to distribution or towards the market. And from there, we would start moving it off the farm into a distribution hub. And at that distribution hub, that doesn't mean we get paid at that point. So in my case, I would have X amount of units sitting at distribution, and then my retail partner would call and say, you can imagine the little shops here, like, send us a pound of jarred material, and then they would move through that, and that's when I get paid on the 30 and 60 after that. So we already decided that, if we grew in 2020, we harvested in 2020, we got it toward, closer to market in 2021, and hopefully we close those books 2022, providing there wasn't the other parts that maybe Natalynne left out. We still pay those taxes, the Measure S, if we had fire, if we had mold, if it went to distribution and distribution collapsed, like that's happening too, because that's venture capital based at this moment. So there's so many things going against us at this time and place. So happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for hanging out with us this evening. I wish we could be enjoying this in person, and hopefully soon we can.
Hey,
Okay.
thank you both so much. Yeah, for so much information. Yeah, it looks like we have some questions. So go ahead, Ken, or feel free to just pop in or whatever, however.
Natalynne, thank you for that excellent reality check, which is a pretty hard one. A lot of us have heard it, but it's really nice. It was a great presentation. Thank you. I think we need to remember that the Arcata Chamber, I think, was one of the first chambers that started to ask the cannabis community to come in. Brian and I were some of the first, I think. So We've been thinking about this and talking about it for a while. And given all those numbers and everything, I just wanted to, I found out some information the other day I wanted to share to the group. The UN in New York has asked one of our community to go and present in 2 months' time on regenerative agriculture in cannabis. So if I checked in your stats, Natalynne, I would say that we're mostly outdoor and a lot of regenerative cannabis. So we really are a model for what the rest of the world is starting to seek. They're not seeking for the big greenhouses, the Walmarts of the world. They're actually seeking real farmers with real brain trust. And so it's just disheartening to hear that litany of costs, Craig. But thanks for that reality. I think us other business folks in the world need to hear that story just about how tough it is, an uphill battle and every single day for you guys.
Yeah, Ken, if I could say one thing, we've been featured in many, many articles and news features. We've had Paul Solomon from PBS NewsHour come to our farm, and we've had a lot of press. And you know, one thing I always say is they're here for our cannabis, but we're trying to sneak in our cultivation practices, right? We're sequestering carbon. We have rain catchment. We're working and treating the entire farm as a living biome. We don't use any fertilizers. We try to close as many loops as we can and fill a biology to nurture the earth. And we actually had the world-renowned godmother of the soil food web, Dr. Elaine Ingham, on our farm this weekend. And she toured our farm just 6 years ago. So that was amazing for her to come back and see how hard we've been working. And we talk about how, you know, we've broken this abusive relationship with our planet, right? And it's because of Dr. Elaine Ingham's knowledge. Now, I have broken that with my children and anyone that has ever been around my farm. We treat the farm as a living biome and we respect the biology.
Thanks, Craig. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks, Molly. Thank you guys for that presentation. And thank you for doing the right thing and being legal and regulated and making that commitment. I guess my question is, I understand the need and the request to suspend Measure S, but I'm curious what the way out of this is from an economic standpoint, and Ken maybe touched on a little bit. If that's suspended, how does the legal regulated industry move forward to be profitable businesses, and how does the industry work?
That's a great question. And I know definitely what we're talking about right now are a lot of the problems, but I do want to say that there is a plan. It's just a slow plan because government moves very, very slowly. We are coming out of prohibition like 3 years ago, right? So, you know, we have already a worldwide reputation for Humboldt cannabis. You all know that. You all know when you travel and they're like, I'm from Humboldt. And people are like, yeah. That's because for the last 50 years, we've been growing really good ganja. And I'll also say because of our trimmigrants, people have come here from all over the world to live a lifestyle during the season. And then they bring those stories back to wherever they're from. You know, so we've got this brand, and I'm going to kind of put it this way, because the way I'm sort of seeing it is in California, if you're from California, Californians are not as cool if you're a Californian, right? But if you're from Iowa, a Californian's pretty cool. We've got 120 years of music and movie culture in California and Hollywood. And so we need interstate commerce. We need to be able to reach out beyond the borders of California, because us selling kind of more natural weed to plasticky people in LA who want to smoke a bunch of indoor is hard. But, you know, we do have a real opportunity once we have interstate commerce. Now, of course, the devil's in the details. There are two current legislative competitors. There's a Republican bill that has way less taxes, and there's a Democrat bill that has way more taxes. We don't know what's going to happen. And it doesn't really seem like on a federal level, there's a big push for that. So maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4 years out, 5 years out. I don't know. So really our goal right now is to hold on to as many of our authentic, real people like Craig, people like Lindsay, people like all of our members that are some of the most, Lauralee and Dave Sandameno, who donated some of our raffle prizes. These are some of the most beautiful and amazing farmers, people with stories and history and heritage, that we need them to survive so that when we are able to go interstate, or God help us, global, they're there. And it's not some big corporation that's exploiting our reputation. So it's about developing and holding our collective brand held in with the farmers. We've developed legislation for appellations, county of origin protections. Ken's saying direct sales. We're working with Assembly Member Jim Wood on a direct sales bill. It's not going to be direct sales, though. I'm just going to say that. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen this year. Farmers are not going to be able to sell directly to a consumer. We still have to jump through like 30,000 hoops between here and there. You know, Matt says we've got canna tourism, but we only have 2 farms that are permitted to do canna tourism. Craig can't, for whatever reason, the county won't give his farm authorization to do, maybe his road's a little bit too steep or something like that. So Craig has one of the most amazing regenerative farms, but the county won't let him. So, you know, we just still have so many regulatory obstacles and hurdles to get to where we need to go. But right now, the most important thing, like our mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance. Right now, it's preserve, because if things don't change right now, we're going to have an extinction event. And then what's left to protect and enhance isn't going to be there. So, yeah, that's, you know, but the plan is there are things that we're working toward. It's just, fortunately, most of us are still reasonably youngish, but there's, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of work to do.
John, did you want to ask a question?
Sure. You brought a lot of numbers, and I have no context for what that means. It might be instructive for the public to know how that compares to a dairy, how it compares to a flower farm. I know that the difference will be startling to people, but I think out of context, it's hard to have people wrap their minds around what the difference is between. I think there are people who think, well, they're just whining because now they have to pay taxes like everybody else does. I think it'll be important for you to show the difference between the taxes that everybody else pays and what you're being asked to pay. I'm also curious who the bad guys are. Is it RJ Reynolds, or is it celebrities, or who were the people who came in with all the money?
Craig.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
There's a massive floodgate that hasn't even opened that will open with federal legalization, right? That's when we're going to see the massive global shift. At the moment, we have companies like Flocana that came in innocently, supposedly, and literally took photos at our farms and had us stand next to them when they had, 10, 20 employees. They scaled within moments up to 300 and had over 120 million in investment money, mainly from Colombia. So we've got a lot of that going on. And then they changed their whole model from partnering with small farms to support us to having their own 60 acres in Lake County. You've got a county just to the south that's, they just opened up 80 acres. They just opened up 100 acres. Like for their permits down there, what, Natalynne, you can answer this. What do we have, 400 total acres growing here?
435.
So there's single farms in Santa Barbara that produce as much as Humboldt County does on the weekly. It's crazy, but they will not compete with us when it comes to quality. And we need to be able to tell our story and have the person-to-person interaction. They purposely put all these barriers between every license type to stop vertical integration. So every license is another fee, another, you need another building, et cetera, another location. So product can't move through that supply line easily, and we lose connection with our consumers. So having in-person events of some capacity and getting people here and their boots on the ground. Maybe Lindsay, you want to shine a little more color on all that?
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. So I think that to answer your question, who is the enemy? Consolidation and lack of representation is the enemy currently. I think that when we're looking at how the money comes in, to answer your first question, it's long-term vision. It's not this short-term, bring all the money in now and keep the taxation that's unfair going, because right now the statistics are that 80% of farmers were able to pay their October payment that you were able to defer, but that also means that 20% weren't. So when you're looking at the 1,000 people that were in this system, and then after October was really when we saw the market decline, like steep decline, 2/3. I think when you're looking at agricultural craft, that's something that we anticipated. But I don't think that the anticipated drop was as considerable as fast. So when you're looking long-term, this isn't going to get better. It's going to continue to get worse. So if we're looking at $300 pounds now, we're going to be looking at $150 pounds soon. If not now, then in the next season, which means then the cost to produce is around $200 more than on average than whatever profit you could potentially make. So I think when you're looking at what's this long-term success that we can build together, let's keep these 200 farms in, because how do you build appellations when you lose all the small farmers? It's this long-term goal, long-term vision. And then also just maintaining the culture that Humboldt's known for. I mean, I've heard a few times over that people say, oh, well, it's this crazy marketing thing around the world and everyone knows Humboldt. No one's spent a dime. Well, I think we all know that there are many people that have been incarcerated. There are people that have been hiding. Maybe it's not a number that you can look at on a spreadsheet, but people have had their whole lives turned upside down to be able to do this and continue to do it. And most of the people that you're looking at that are, struggling and failing, just have fixed costs that don't make sense. And so when we're looking at parity, no other agricultural product is taxed at a square footage before you're able to produce anything. At least now we're building the rears, so it makes a lot more sense. It's not extortion anymore, but it was. And when you're comparing it to a normal farm, here's the data. To run a mushroom farm, $400 annually, $400. To do my half acre, my fixed cost before cost of goods is $56,000. So just thinking on that and thinking on how the 2/3 decline, it's just unsustainable. So the people that have paid already, with the market decline continuing, to me, it seems that what the supervisors could really understand and hear is that if they want equality, then it needs to be actual equality, because no one else is taxed on square footage. And if you want to have less people going for food stamps and assistance and things like that, then support the farmers now, because it's not going to get better. And I wish I had a better synopsis, because I'm usually incredibly optimistic and I can see a clear path of, this is how we do it. We're going to do marketing, specialty products, but we don't have connection to our customers. So we always have to work through a distributor, and then we don't make the artisan connection. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any more questions. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. It's just, it is what it is. And the data doesn't lie. 56,000 to run a farm annually before you plant anything is just unsustainable.
And Lindsay, one part that we haven't even spoken about yet, and most of you have businesses of some capacity. Now let's say that business fails and there's some sort of bankruptcy clause that would maybe protect you or your assets. Well, Measure S is connected to my home. So if for some reason I get in the weeds and I can't pay that, now I'm partnered with the county, and we're talking about, losing my home. So this is some uncharted territory, and I'm trying to really probe the county. I was at the tax collector's office today, and they said, we haven't dealt with this yet. You can't not pay like your Measure Z. You can't dissect a tax bill. You have to pay all or nothing. So how is it going to be when a farmer loses their crop to fire, mold, or whatever, market shift, and then they can't pay? These are serious things. So we really need to suspend, and then we can revisit it and restructure it and move that away from our home and have it more tied to the permit. And then they can say, okay, you didn't pay your tax. You lose your right to operate, not you have to move out.
Well, I kind of want to speak to that real quick. Sorry to just jump right back in, but I have an email out to the DCC for clarification. But I am of the understanding, at least the Board of Supervisors said, that there would be no lien put on your property, and Humboldt County isn't as drastic as the state. But if you do not pay your state license on time, there's a 50% fine immediately. And so, we're talking about a $26,000 bill, 50% fine. And then your product is no longer able to move through the market. And so anything you still had to sell, you can't. And so they might not put a lien on your home, but then you sunk your life savings into your farm and you can't sell anything. So you can't pay your bills. So it's indirect. And then there was one other thing. I apologize for being kind of all over the place, but thinking about how we kind of got into this in 2020, I would say the majority of farmers were unable to sell all of their product, smoke damage, market changes, things like that. So a lot of product was returned. Well, especially for people that package their own product and have their own brand, if you didn't sell it and your test expired, you still paid $160 a pound to put it into the market, and then had to pay to have it destroyed. So we were one of the people that had some, but not a lot, but that was 40 some odd pounds that we paid our taxes on and then paid to have destroyed. So that's my piece. Thanks to everyone for listening.
I just want to weigh in, Lindsay. I mean, I guess one of the really useful aspects of this mixer and this conversation tonight is there's one community within our community that oftentimes is kind of invisible. It's kind of visible sometimes, but there's a layer between, and I don't know why. I've tried to figure it out as long as I've lived in Humboldt. The illegality of it originally, I'm sure, is a big part of it, but they're just community members. They stop at the grocery stores and everything. And so as I've done my journey up here and just met all these amazing people, this conversation is important for the non-cannabis people, or the people that may have a neighbor or something, to really understand the intractable issues they're facing. And I just ask one thing when you leave this today, just to reflect: is this a movie? Is this crazy? I mean, could you even make this plot up and sell it as a movie? But that's the reality right now. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, maybe when producers control the marketing, we can make our own movie, because all the movies they're putting out about us are just terrible. We need to direct that story ourselves. And I think that, if you hear this and you think, wow, that's really that's not fair. We see that you're part of our community, and, indirectly or directly, everyone's affected by cannabis in this county. So the time is Monday. The supervisors heard us loud and clear. 60 some odd people commented. And the comments that we got were, well, they didn't comment today, but this isn't really what I'm hearing from my constituents. So I was like, wait, do you not? I think you hear us, but I don't think you hear us. And
I'm gonna use that as a plug, Lindsay, because there's 27 people on here.
there you go.
This is the Arcata Chamber of Commerce, and you guys are all in the District 3, which is Supervisor Mike Wilson. I don't know if you heard, but we're down one supervisor. So there's typically 5, right? But District 2 Supervisor Michelle Bushnell recused herself to prevent conflict of interest stuff. So instead of having 5 supervisors, we have 4 supervisors. 2 and 2. I don't know. You don't make decisions if you've got a split vote. And I would say Mr. Mike Wilson is is where this vote is going to come down. And we're talking to Arcata right now. And I know that the Arcata Chamber of Commerce is a non-political organization, but each one of you as individuals are important and all have capacity to do whatever you want, either as individuals or as your businesses. But I'm going to say this just real, like, we need help. And we need help specifically with Mike Wilson, because Mike, and I love this when the supervisors do this, they say, well, none of the people who I'm talking to delivered public comment, and there's no written public comment. So there's all, then who are you talking to? Who's not who's, and that's why we have public forums, because then you a real name and a real face. But we need your help, honestly. If you have, if you live in Arcata, if you have a business in Arcata, having people reach out from the because we're doing a good job circling our troops, but we really do need help and support from our allied businesses. And I'm going to say this, and this is what it's going to come down to, most likely. They're going to have to cut the baby in half, right? Some kind of negotiation is going to pop out on Monday. And we're not going to get exactly what we want. And I think in any kind of public process, no side should get exactly what it wants, because then it wouldn't have been a real democratic process. So we're not going to get everything that we want, and the county's not going to get everything that they want. But one of the things, and I'll tell you this, is Mike is pushing around an idea of, well, we'll just give a 50% break to outdoor farmers and a 25% break to this other type of farmer, and 0 tax break to another type of farmer. That's not going to work for us. Like that really does not work. We need a full 1-year suspension of this tax. The county is very likely going to squeeze one last drop of blood out of us, and get its October payment come hell or high water. I can use every metaphor in the world, but they're going to squeeze that last drop of blood out of us. But after that, we need a full suspension for a year. And so, I would just ask if you have any connection with Mike, text him, email him. I'll put his email in the sidebar. Reach out to Mike. Mike in Virginia, honestly, if you're Eureka people either. Both.
So
really
Natalynne, what's like the direct ask? Like what do you want people to do? Write a letter? I mean, like, what do you want them to say? Maybe if you guys can Craig, go ahead. I mean, and like Natalynne said, as the Arcata Chamber, we're not able to solicit anything, and we're not taking sides on any of this, but we're here to deliver this information to the public from this point of view. And so so just whatever you guys want to tell the group as to what you would like them to say.
Our rally cry is save family farms, no farms left behind, or no families left behind, right? So that lets them know that no matter on size or license type, that from the smallest to what we call the biggest in Humboldt County, which is micro compared to the state, as we learned in this call. We need across the board, and we want to suspend Measure S for 1 year. I think that's what it's coming down to. We have some farms that didn't pay this October payment that was deferred to the spring, and they will have to cough that up, and they will have to figure that out in order to move forward. And that way, that doesn't affect any budgets. You know, the year we're looking to suspend, they haven't written that budget yet, so that doesn't affect it. I know Matt has had his hand up, and we kind of talked through all that, so I don't want to leave someone out.
Oh, I put my hand down. I just wanted to, it was an answer to a question a long time ago, but I think the future, like once we get past this, the future is craft cannabis and cannabis tourism. So I think not just me, but a lot of people think cannabis is going to kind of shake out a lot like alcohol does, where there's like Budweiser, but there's also Sierra Nevada, there's Gallo wine, but there's also Rothschild, and we can survive but right now we're not at that point in the market. It's all just bulk. It's all just going into this bulk market. There's only Gallo wine, if cannabis was wine at this point, kind of, because of the market. But it will eventually, just like alcohol, mature, and there will be different markets. And then we won't be selling $400 pounds. We'll be selling $4,000 pounds, and other people will be selling $400 pounds in Salinas. But we have to get through this rough patch, this transition, to get to that future that we can all kind of envision. And if we don't support the farmers right now, like in this immediate moment, then they won't exist to have that craft market and that tourism market in the future. That's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much for the time.
I want to pop in real quick. This is Leanne. I'm the executive director of the Southern Humboldt Chamber of Commerce. And of course, we're feeling this pain in our local economy very acutely. There's not a business in Southern Humboldt that has not been affected by this downturn. Although maybe some of our hoteliers might like to argue with me on that one. But every business in Humboldt County in one way, shape, or form will be affected by, or is being affected by, the downturn of the cannabis market. So I really want to encourage each and every one of you to reach out. And I advocate reaching out to all the supervisors so that they all know exactly what's happening in the county. You might want to lead off to Supervisor Wilson, but copy all the other 4 supervisors as well, so that they're all informed. And so please take a moment, send a letter, send an email. It takes a little bit of time and patience to get in on the supervisors' calls, the meetings. But I think it's worth every one of your efforts to see that this cornerstone of our county's economic development remains in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Nice to have you here. Let's real quick do a couple raffle prizes. I know that's like a different tone, but I think that would be nice to do some raffle prizes since we still have a lot of great winners out there. Carol, are you able to do that?
Yeah, actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just turned off my video. It seems to work. So let's let Hcga, they have some amazing prizes. And I think it's Alegria is going to share with us about some of these prizes, and then I'll announce who the winners are. There are 4 different packages.
So these 4 packages, as Natalynne said earlier, are coming from Sunrise Mountain Farms, which is a farm in Willow Creek on Brannon Mountain. And the gift packs have tincture that is a heavy CBD strain. And there is also a pre-roll in that package, and a Sunrise Mountain t-shirt will be accompanying that. And I saw the box, and there was a lot of really awesome other swag in there too. So they threw in some stickers, my favorite one being a really beautiful sunset landscape of a Humboldt mountain scene with the fog interplaying, and it says breathe in Humboldt. Really lovely. So congrats to the winners, and thank you to Sunrise Mountain Farms.
Thank you so much, and thank you for donating. So our first one, and these all have a value of $85. Our first winner is Carrie Talman. Congratulations, Carrie. Second one is Ashley Mobley. The next one is Leanne Green. And our last one of these packages from Hcga is Carrie Talman again. So you win twice, Carrie. Congratulations. Should we do a few more, Molly, or do you have other things to speak of?
Yeah, let's do a few more. Let's keep
Okay.
them rolling.
Our next one is donated by Dark Solutions. This is a $50 value. It's various local items, including handmade jewelry and plants. And this has been won by our masseuse, Rob Rice. Next one, again, someone that donates on a regular basis, Coast Central Credit Union. Thank you so much. A basket of their local goodies with wine, coffee. There's hot sauce, chocolate, coffee mug, and wine glass. This is a $100 value. And this has been won by, and this person shares the McKinleyville Chamber as well, Gino. Gino, congratulations. And we will do one more, Six Rivers Brewery. It's a $25 gift card for Six Rivers Brewery. Of course, that's the brew with a view at the top of the hill in McKinleyville. $25 value, and this has been won by Jim Ritter. So Molly, is there anything else? We have 2 left to go. You want to do some closing stuff? And
yeah, why don't we just do the final raffle prizes, and then we can end it out with more discussion or any announcements from the group.
okay, so I'm going to make an announcement. Benbow Historic Inn, we are having our all-county mixer. All-county mixer, please mark your calendar, Friday, March 4th. Friday, March 4th, 5:30 p.m. Your business card gets you into the event. We're asking people, just to make it more fun, bring some sort of a door prize gift. The more gifts we have, the more we can give away, and it's really fun. Benbow hosts all the food and the beverages for the night. You can spend the night if you'd like. Call down early, make your reservation, and ask for the code CHAMBER to get your discounted room rate. So once again, Benbow All-County Mixer, Friday, March 4th. It's a great party. It's so much fun to meet people. We've had as many as 7 different chambers of commerce represented there. So come down, join us at the Benbow Historic Inn. Our next giveaway is from Septemtrio Winery in Arcata. This is 2 bottles of their delicious wines. And this has been run by Rob Rice. Congratulations, Rob. And the last one is donated by Rob Rice, who is a masseuse. So this is a 1-hour massage from Rob Rice. And this has also been won by Gino Granados. Congratulations. Thank you all for donating. Thank you all for buying tickets. Molly, back to you.
All right, thank you, Carol. And yeah, hopefully people can make it down to Benbow for the all-county mixer. I think the last time they did that mixer was in March 2020, right before everything shut down. It was
That is correct.
It was
literally right before.
It was a really good final party, but who knew it was going to be the last. So yeah, if we want to open it back up for more discussion, thank you for that little break. And then if anybody wants to jump in with other of your own random announcements, we'd love to hear it. And yeah, Craig, it looks like you've got your hand up, so please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the Benbow Inn is about 3.5 miles from our farm. It literally, if you're standing on the front porch of the Benbow Inn and you look up at the big mountain across the valley, that's where our farm is, up on those sunny ridges. And 5 years ago, we invited John and Teresa Porter up there, and they step out of the truck and come around the front of the property in front of the home and look down at the cannabis and the views. And they said, when do we write the brochures? Let's do this. So they're ready. We're ready. We just need to work on the county to have them help us, pave the way, so to speak. Yeah, we would be so excited to have the mixer at the Benbow, and then to have Matt with his van down there and spin some people through. And you know, maybe we could do this on a private basis. I don't know. Matt and I will compare some notes and we'll see what we can do to make that happen maybe earlier in the afternoon or something. So let's see.
Sounds like a great idea. Just talk to Don and we can get the word out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ken, go for it.
Yeah, just add one more thing. We've got an industry here that I'm just thinking about what happens if cannabis leaves, and I think about that sometimes, and it keeps me awake at nights, honestly. And so I guess I'd end with this. I'm, you know, as most of you know, in the cannabis industry myself, but because I believe in it, and I really think that this is a powerful story that Humboldt has to tell, and I agree that we should be making these movies ourselves because they're so compelling. So I just end by saying that it was a spur of the moment thing last week. I'm also on the board of directors, the Humboldt County Visitors Bureau, looking at tourism part of this. And we had this amazing conversation about, some of you were involved with it, about sustainable tourism and cannabis tourism, one and the same. Just as Craig was explaining his farm, I mean, people would want to go see that, not just to, you know, see his product and consume, but also to learn about what he's teaching. So I really appreciated Hcga being here today. And we are an apolitical entity, but the individual voices heard what you said, I think. Thank you.
Jennifer, please go ahead.
Hi, you guys. I'm Jennifer. I'm with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the North Coast. I recognize some of you from the McKinleyville Mixer last week or so, and I just kind of wanted to pop in and say this is a really great conversation that we've been having. And again, agreeing with Ken, the voices here have been really great, and we do have a phenomenal story. But my message, my ask is a little different. I just want to remind everybody that Big Brothers Big Sisters was also nominated by the Chamber for a nonprofit. Of course, I see John with the Blood Bank and Black Humboldt, amazing group as well. I know that our executive director we work closely with both those organizations. But our Bowl for Kids' Sake event's coming up March 4th and 5th. Sounds like that's going to be a busy weekend, but we are forming teams. We are planning an in-person event right now with extra safety precautions. And obviously if such stuff happens, we'll postpone it. But yeah, and so we're looking for businesses to either sponsor, form a team, or donate prizes. So I'm going to leave my email in the chat. So if anyone wants to support and want information about Bowl for Kids' Sake or Big Brothers Big Sisters, I'll leave that for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I know it's like starting to wrap up. I mean, we can stay on a little longer if people are into it, but you know, we really, as the Arcata Chamber, just want to help inform the community of all types of community things. And so we are so grateful for Hcga and Craig and Lindsay and Leanne and all the voices out there to be here telling your story and helping us to let the community know. And I mean, I think anybody who's lived in Humboldt for any amount of time understands how much of the community the cannabis industry is and how much it affects everybody here. And so I'm really, really grateful for this conversation tonight. It's been really informative and rich and eye-opening. So yeah, Valerie, go ahead.
Hi, so I'm Valerie, I'm the development director for Key TV. And you may have noticed in the chat, I shared a link on January 21st. Natalynne was a guest on Headline Humboldt, which is our live weekly news program that we air on Fridays. So you can check out Natalynne's interview. You can check out interviews from the past year and a half. That's how long Headline Humboldt has been in existence. I can't believe it's been that long. You can check out our YouTube channel. You just type in Headline Humboldt. You can watch our live stream on Friday night. That's at our website. And also, you know, we're always looking for guests with interesting topics and other nonprofits. You know, if you have not necessarily an event, but like to hear about your area of, you know, of the good that you are doing. We like to share what's happening in our community. So don't forget about Key TV. We're here to serve our community, and Headline Humboldt has turned into a great way to do that. Lots of people watch it. So we want to also share info about the community, just like the Arcata Chamber.
Yeah, Leanne, go ahead. You have your hand up.
I do. I want to share with everyone, please mark your calendars for Saturday, May 28th. That would be Memorial Day weekend. In, shall I say, a rather unprecedented move. We have the Southern Humboldt Chamber of Commerce collaborating with the Humboldt County Growers Alliance, as well as the Southern Humboldt Business and Visitors Bureau, to do what we're calling West Side Live Market. And it will feature farmers from the Whitethorn Valley. We are pairing with a dispensary, Joe's Pot Shop, who will be able to execute the sales. And we will have some educational booths, you know, come learn why is sun-grown regenerative the best, what are terpenes, such as that. There's also a maker's market at the site, as well as a farmer's market. So this is going to be happening at Whitethorn Construction, which is on the Bryceland Thorn Road, on your way to Shelter Cove. I also want to shout out, there's a couple wineries along that road who will be doing some tasting. And of course, everybody loves to head out to the Cove on a long holiday weekend. So mark your calendars, May 28th, that's a Saturday, and stay tuned for more news. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to dovetail on that because, you know, as a person who lives in Northern Humboldt, we don't typically get down to Southern Humboldt and Shelter Cove that often. And it's gorgeous, Black Sand Beach, the Lost Coast Inn. I just booked a room down there because they've got epic rooms. So, you know, we don't always have to go far to go on a vacation. So come on out to Southern Humboldt, take the Bryceland Thorn Road. There's Whitethorn Winery, Black Sand Beaches, and a little farmer's market. So a good option for our local people.
Any other final announcements or thoughts or discussion tonight? And again, thank you so much, Natalynne and Alegria and your whole team. And yeah, please, if this discussion moved you, please contact your supervisors. And do you all recommend going to that meeting on Monday, or what?
It's a virtual meeting. They're still meeting. Most people have full-time day jobs, so I wouldn't make you guys deal with that 12-hour. No, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I mean, literally just write your supervisors, honestly, make a phone call, send a text. Like, it doesn't have to be some well-written letter, like a subject line, like suspend Measure S for 1 year, signed John from Blood Bank. Like, don't worry. Simple, short and sweet. They're getting bombarded with so much information. Like, you don't need to write. They have low attention spans, just short.
Yeah. Can I pop in really quick?
Please.
Yes. The one thing I would say that paints a very vivid picture to our supervisors is how it affects our other businesses. So if you can please send your anecdotal stories of how you rely on our farmers and the industry in your own business, drawing that connection shows that this definitely reaches not just one group of people, but the entire county. And that's the message we really want to get across.
Thank you, for clarifying that. Awesome. Well, I think I'm gonna end it there. And so again, so happy to see you all, and hopefully we'll all see each other in person again, but I'm enjoying the boxes while we're in them. And if you're an Arcata Chamber member and you haven't voted for the Business Leaders of the Year, please click the link on our website. It's the blue banner, and place your vote. I think I'm just going to leave it open, till tomorrow morning. So if you're up at 2 a.m., you can still do it. But yes, just vote, but it won't be happening tomorrow. So please make that happen now. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.